we see it's not any more tangible for citizens, nor for the governments in the region. They don't believe, they distrust. So there is a big distrust among, I would say, Western Balkan countries and the European Union capitals. Now, I have to touch on Macron paper because I feel it's a wrong way to go. Because it brings too many safeguards that we have already today. If you look, that we have benchmarks on the rule of law on basically everything. That's why maybe Serbia will not open a single chapter this year. And I think that would be a very bad signal, nevertheless. But going into more benchmarks will just slow down the enlargement process. If you look this non-paper that exists. There is one time mentioned clear European perspective. So I would say even it's not very clear whether there is European perspective. Maybe the reason is because they would like to slowly push Turkey away. And there is a very limited access to EU funds or EU policies. So I think it can be a way to discuss, but it's certainly not a good way to go forward. Now, where are we in this process? I'm very clear that we have to support, and in the European Parliament, or at least also me and my colleagues are doing, we have to support and be aware that the enlargement is really a key for stability in European continent. And that is also reconciliation. If you look in the history, we are more than 6 decades from the Second World War. Right. The European integration was a perfect example of reconciliation that was possible in this continent. I'm not sure we can now make a copy on the Balkans model, but we would need there, I now twice came in the last month back from Serbia, I have to say. I'm amazed still about the low level of culture, political dialogue, or the narrowing place of freedom of media, or the democracy, or the rule of law. And if we will not have really politicians in the region that will really work for their citizens and not only for their own interests, but go beyond that and have a vision to really integrate countries, then we will have risks. We see that the Western Balkan, we often say it's a polygon for different geopolitical interests, Russians, Arabs, Turks, Chinese, they're coming in. Still not with the money. As biggest investor is European Union or European countries. We have to be aware, and the citizens, if you ask in the region, would preferably go to the Western Europe also. So they leave European values, they want them. Yesterday I read that more than half of population of Bosnia and Herzegovina is already living outside. So it's a big brain drain going, it's also a young generation living. Are huge challenges in the region. That's why we need to have this wisdom to understand that we have to support them and help.
Right.
And but challenges are, I just see, I'm coming from Slovenia. I today had a long discussion on Croatia and Slovenia and the issues. We also have open issues. We have a lot of open issues. Now we will be able to, I think you were telling an example of bringing you together. I did at least twice a very nice exercise. I brought many young people from the region together, and we did like a big summit, but of young people, to try to make conclusions, to bridge all these political challenges that today exist in the region. I was surprised after one day that they were even worse than the political leaders in their countries, because it stopped with the name issue, with the Kosovo, Serbia, everywhere. So I was fascinated. So those that argue education, it's crucial for young people to bring them away from here, from this way of thinking that it's very present.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tanya. What you've said about simulation, bringing young people in, and I've seen that also happen, that often young people, if they're not encouraged to think outside the box and think differently, think it's best to emulate the existing so-called role model. So that is absolutely a very fair point to make. We do have a delegation, I should say, a delegation of young and dynamic women from the Western Balkans. And I'm going to turn to them for quick comments on what they've heard so far. So I have Trina. and I have Ivana. So Trina, just very quickly, who you are, turn around
Okay.
and speak to everyone. Thank you.
So, dear all, it's a great pleasure. I'm Trina Hotia. I'm child rights activist and youth advocate at UNICEF office in Kosovo. And I'm truly honored and excited to share my voice about reconciliation. I believe that we all do here agree that reconciliation is a long-term journey, but because it is so impactful on me, on my peers, and and also as you as adults, I think it should be built by everyday steps, including young people from different ethnic backgrounds. So, in my country, there is still a lot of negative narrative about both of the communities and that remain from the war memories of people. And this has a truly impact on how both of the communities, young people from Albanian and Serb communities, see each other until they have the chances to meet together, to collaborate together, and to share for common solutions. So in this aspect, while for the politicians the reconciliation is a big topic in the agenda, we as young people found more a simple way of organizing reconciliation without having this impact of external factors. We do reconciliation without knowing that we are doing reconciliation. So this is the beautiful of the thing, because through the UNICEF programs that are non-formal education methods. We have Upshift workshop that is born in Kosovo and replicated more in the 21 states around the world, and that uses a group of young people that came together to have a solution for the society and that know the values of each of the community and do not see the differences. So I think that the EU should work more on this, and it is truly an amazing investment that EU can bring to the young people in the Western Balkans, as they can have the same investment in themselves as their peers in the EU member states. Thank you.
Thank you, Trina. Thank you very much. Ivana, from North Macedonia.
Okay, so I have wrote down a bunch of notes from everyone that said anything this day. And I will try to be as short as possible.
Yes, please.
So the name of this event is It Takes Two to Tango. Me, myself, I'm a dancer. But I want to ask all of you, do you know what needs to be done for two people to be able to dance together? No. Trust. Two people need to have trust in order to be able to dance together, and that means a perfect, good, established communication. That is, I think, the essence of everything that we spoke this day, because we lack trust. We lack trust in our neighbors. We lack trust in our government. We lack trust in our private companies. We lack trust in our opportunities, in our future. And that's why nothing works in our countries, because we don't believe that anything will work. So I think that those are the three most important problems: the communication, the funding non-existent opportunities, and as the whole one thing of that includes both of them is the capacity to see the bigger picture of something that Melinda said before. She said that we have to learn that we need to stand together in order to be able to create bigger ideas, because if we stand divided, then we will fall.
Okay.
So that's what I think that is the most important thing, and I would just try to, because when I wrote my first statement, it was about trying to shift the focus from doing political communication to doing something that's important for the young people. For example, I believe that your research didn't succeeded with the younger people because they were trying to act as politicians.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is that we are trying, for example, me as a dancer, we are trying to do something that we really love, what Trina said, and we're doing reconciliation without knowing. So the thing is to try to find ways to invest into things that would be interesting for the young people, to give them opportunities and exchanging programs, networking programs, open calls, so that they can communicate more with the countries around.
Okay.
And that's it.
That's it. Ivana, I have to say, spot on with don't behave like politicians. But the panel, I'm going to give you each one word that Ivana has talked about. And then after we've talked with the other participants. I want you to come to it. So starting from you, Velma, you have the word trust. No, not now. Think about trust. This is what Ivana said. Svetlana, please think about commitment, okay? Tanya, this is just by coincidence, but for you it's funding. And Zoran, for you the word is bigger picture, okay? Think about that, because I think you have very, very wisely pointed to the 4 things that we do need. Right, okay, let's open the floor to some questions and comments. Once again, the plea is to be specific and as short and snappy as you can. So one hand going up over there. Gareth, just keep your hand up, please, madam. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Jana Božinovska. I'm coming from Macedonia. And I'm listening carefully about reconciliation. We had that problem, but nobody mentioned other dimension of reconciliation. We have it. What about I would say intra-ethnical reconciliation, not inter-ethnical, because we still have that problem. We are still divided on some kind of patriots and traitors, especially about the name issue and about solution of name issue. And now I think that we have better relations between ethnic communities than intra-ethnic communities.
Okay.
So what do you think about this kind of reconciliation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please.
Ulrike Damjanovic, European Training Foundation. I've also carefully listened, and I think all of you, including the young people, brought excellent examples. Yeah? And I think examples where we can build upon, which can be rolled out. I think there's a lot there, from the municipalities to the green T-shirt. Yeah? So I think we should benefit on this. I also would like to share with you an information in the context of enlargement and the Berlin process. There has been established in 2016 the Regional Youth Cooperation Office, which has the seat in Tirana, and which is exactly on this topic, and starting with the young people for reconciliation, exchange, joint programs. Yeah? And then something, what we have seen in the European Union and in the other countries, is that the mobility programs like Erasmus, yeah, where you exchange young people, where you exchange older peoples, because you need the older as well, teachers, etc., has brought a lot in this whole process of cooperation, trust building, commitment, what we were talking. And just now I would like to inform you that in the Western Balkans there is soon to be launched a regional project on the mobility of vocational education and training students and teachers in the region. So this will start soon. And the countries of the Western Balkans, some are full members, others not, are also looking into Erasmus. So this issue of person to person, I think this helps a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed from the European Training Foundation. And Raiko was present last year and could not come this year, but you're absolutely right to talk about mobility and Erasmus Plus and vocational training as well. So thank you very much for those comments. I'd like to take a few more comments and questions. Please, the lady at the back, you need the microphone as well. Gareth, yeah, thanks.
Can I add another word?
Could you just quickly identify yourself?
Hello, Steljana Nedera, UNDP in Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Thank you.
Can I add another word to the reflections about future? And is it possible when working with young people to ask them to draw their future together? Thank you.
Draw a future together. Okay. Yes, please. Quick question there.
Actually, it will be good to drive as a model, the model of the religious harmony that Albania has. So that is the perfect. And my best friends in Luxembourg are from Serbia, are from Kosovo, and we have no problems. So I think it has something to do with the ground over there, or with the politics, because outside we have no problems.
That's a very, very interesting and I would say insightful comment, actually. Very well done. Okay, I don't see any more. Oh, I do see one hand going up. Jeanette, there, please. And this will be the final point from the panel. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to, I'm representative of the Islamic community, Bosnia-Herzegovina, here in Brussels. I have to say that we in Bosnia and Herzegovina have a bright example of how interreligious council actually functions. And Velma might know about that and most probably can share her experience about those activities. But I think we have a lot of things actually to share with other people out of Bosnia and Herzegovina, how religious leaders, its representatives or their representatives in the interreligious council, how they meet and how they create arenas for, you know, as a meeting place for different people, whether young or other generations.
Thank you also for that comment. In fact, I think it was 2 years ago that we welcomed the Grand Mufti of Bosnia for a conversation at Friends of Europe. So indeed, beyond the region, in fact, can be the voice. Right, so it's interesting that we've talked about a number of things, faith and politicians and regional cooperation. The media has not been mentioned, and we know that in today's world of fake news and disinformation and misleading information, social media networks, we talked about it last year at our conference, that we haven't mentioned it in the context of post-conflict getting together, peacekeeping or reconciliation. So just when I'm coming back to you, just try and do that as well. So Zoran, let's start with you. And your response, but also the bigger picture issue.
I will start with bigger picture.
Right.
You know, it's, we all have to have a bigger picture where our societies are going, but they are going together, not one by one. One of the issues which politicians are facing is so-called zero-sum game in our region. We need to change that altitude and how we can move to win-win situation. Together we are stronger. How we are moving in that direction, but maybe not with enough quickly or enough strong path. Joint cooperation is part of that bigger picture. Reconciliation is part of that bigger picture. European Union membership should be is part of that picture, bigger picture. But when you're a politician, sometimes you are facing with short-term achievements, and you are sacrificing the bigger picture for short-term achievements, especially when it comes for re-election. So politicians very often do not act reasonably. So we need to create the atmosphere in the region. And also what my friend and colleague from my country, from Macedonia, said, we are facing, not just in our country, but in the other countries, intra-ethnic conflict. Not conflict in the sense of fighting each other, but the words which are used are not so pleasant. I believe that we all have the same vision for our country, but we need to be careful how we are expressing our vision. I fully agree with the need for exchange of the young people. And this is T-shirt about 20 years. Some group of people are doing, probably more than 1,000 people went through their training program. Erasmus is a great example. You know, we have generation because the visa program who are not able to come and see how is Europe. They look at Europe from their TV sets. Now, being able to travel is important. Having US students coming to our countries and our students coming to your countries is very important. For a period of, one period I was for 3 years Minister of Defense, and we have military academy where we have students from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and Kosovo. And also we are trying to open up for foreigners to be able to spend the semester, and our cadets also to be able to spend the semester. That's how you build also trust and strong individuals. Those are major important points for every individual. And I will mention here something which looks very small, it's private sector, but creates a lot for the vision of the kids from the region. It's companies like Wizz Air and Ryanair allowing young people for small amount of money to come here in Brussels, to go to London, to go to Paris, to see how Europeans are living, and to have your young people coming to our region. So it's, you see, sometimes the private sector can do a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You didn't talk about, no, the interesting point that was raised by our friend here, that when it comes to living abroad, people from the region and the wider region get along very well together. And is that, there's something in the water in the Western Balkans? Is there something in the water that makes you so unwilling to compromise when it comes back home?
You
this
know,
was a joke.
I will tell you, because the question was posed to me, yeah?
Yeah, just at the moment, yeah.
I will tell you, when people get out of the countries, they start to think on their own way. They are not, how to say, poisoned by the politicians. And, you know, they develop the relations on a personal level. I'll give you an example of my younger son. He went to Boston. He has a friends, Macedonians and Albanians over there, and he called a girl, a friend of him, not girlfriend, friend of him, who is Albanian from Tirana. That's how young people react. If someone is a good person, he is your friend. You don't care what is his nationality or what his faith or whatever.
Thank you. Tanya, for you it was funding.
Not being politician.
A responsible politician.
I have to still come back to that because I'm all the time thinking that one might think that politicians are the source of all the problems that are there. I hope not everyone agrees with that. And I hope that there are nevertheless, and there are, even North Macedonia is a good example. We have very responsible politicians and also good responsible decisions when it comes to politics. But right, that quite often I hear what you say, that politicians are creating most of problems, and it's better when you come. I have a lot of friends from the region, and when they are out of their countries, maybe here I can also agree with you, they think different. They are friends, they forget about their national flames, and it's nice to see. It's great potential with young people in the region. I'm hosting them quite often, and I see how much will is there to learn, to travel, to live, and I feel sorry that they don't have this perspective clearly at home. On funding, you said, Shada, I mean, we mentioned some regional initiatives, and they are important, but they are not there to replace the European integration process. We have to be clear. You mentioned Berlin process and RICO. It's fantastic for economic, political cooperation. It's necessary for infrastructure, for everything. I am following it. We have Brdo Brioni process. It was a meeting in Tirano. We have, I think we counted more than 60 regional initiatives. It's quite a lot. Now there are some new coming. I wouldn't go to mini Schengen and some others, but we have a lot of regional initiatives, and we have a lot of European funds and money. All fine till the moment that there is money. We are negotiating for the new financial framework.
Yes.
The question always comes, who is then managing the money? And how the money is really delivered or used. Also, there are mechanisms, but maybe not always efficient as one would wish to see. So on funding, I wouldn't be that worried that there is not sufficient money, but it's always necessary to see how to spend it, how to be prepared, how to really get ready and have the transparent mechanism. That is why it's important when we talk about fight against corruption in political elites, how to make rule of law. Because if you have all these, I would say, European, let's say, standards when it comes to rule of law, you can create environment that is healthy also for foreign investments. And this is then boost for the country and economy and opening new jobs, not being in the situation now that people don't have perspective and they would go to travel around.
Okay.
One of the part you mentioned,
have to,
yes,
yes.
okay.
No,
Then
go ahead.
just on media
Briefly.
shortly, because
Yeah,
you mentioned
please.
no one said media, and I think this is extremely important, because the media space is shrinking in the whole Western Balkans, the freedom of media. We saw in the last country reports, all the countries went downgrade. And this is where people today, not that they are not having the credible and reliable information from the media themselves are challenged with online media, with hate speech, with fake news, and people don't know anymore how to see or differentiate the facts or the truth from lies. And the problem is also when this hate speech or fake news become mainstream politics or mainstream media. And this is happening everywhere. So there I would be very careful how to bring this freedom of media back. It's not only legislations, but it's also something that is coming in general from civil societies, from active citizens, from engagement, how to make this democracy work. And this is important, I would say, coming from down to the bottom.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Is this about the media?
I could talk about media, but
Yeah, okay, just wait. No, wait. Yeah. Just introduce yourself very quickly. And,
Yes. Sanja Savlić, I'm coming from Kosovo, and I'm journalist, by the way. But I want
I
to
sort of felt that from the way you were agitating. It was very urgent.
Yes.
Please, very quickly.
But I think something is missed here because, and actually you, with your comment, is there something in water in the Balkans, provoked me somehow to say,
Good.
In EU is also not about love. EU is not about love. That is about interest, and I think that is important part of the reconciliation, and we have to find a way to find actually common interest of different communities and different ethnicities. Even, I mean, I met my Albanian or Croatian or some other friends through my work and through, I had some kind of interest, you know. And I think that is very important to find common interest in different fields, and that is how we can move forward.
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you. Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. So, very, very important point actually about common interests as well. Svetlana, for you I gave commitment.
Okay, yeah, I would shortly like to say just a few words about the media, because there is a huge problem, and I believe equally important like education.
Sure.
So there is no media freedom in the Western Balkans, and the situation is very, very worrying. I think the situation is very close to the situation which was in the 90s. So there is this populistic narrative introduced in the media because the politicians are mostly on the media, and so we are daily exposed to this kind of narrative, to politicians, high politicians, talking with the journalists, with the very, I don't know which word to use. Yeah, but there is no culture of debate. There is no culture of conversation. We are in the middle of the media revolution, meaning and referring actually to this social media and electronic media, etc. And we are not even aware of that. So I think that's a huge problem.
Yes, thank you.
We need to deal with that. Then I will try to cheat a bit.
Okay.
So commitment, first of all, you need to make decision, to make a plan, to commit and to stuck. to what you have decided and to take responsibility. And I believe that we need to take decision to reform educational system in the region and to insist of them, because this is the only way to fight this populistic narrative. This is the only way to, actually we need to change the way of thinking, because our education systems are based now on memorizing the facts. We do not teach students and young people how to think. These extraordinary young people that we met here today are not typical young people from the Western Balkans.
Okay.
So we heard a few times that more than 2/3 of young people leave their country, leave the region, and there is even more worrying, how to say now, the results of a survey where that was due to, actually the reason was to compare how young people from the Western Europe think and how young people from the Western Balkan think. While the young people from the Western Europe were grouping around generational values, the young people from the Balkans were grouping from nationalistic values.
Okay.
And that is something very worrying, and that is
keep in
something
mind.
we need to change, and that I think that we need to put everything on education and media.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Velma, please. Trust.
Yes, I got trust. I'm going to mention also, because I had the part about media, I mentioned ordinary people and how we need to work with them too. So I was thinking by disseminating facts and checks to the ordinary people. But on another hand, when we are talking about media, I'm more concerned about anti-European Union propaganda going around in, for example, Serbia and Republika Srpska, because that is something what, beside, fake news and hate speech and stuff, there is a whole machinery working against the idea of European Union. Anyway, I got trust, and Ivana, I think she mentioned word trust. Ivana, yes, the trust is a base of work which my organization is doing. I didn't even talk about project we do because there is a plenty, but multimedia and art, and something what would be quite interesting is the base. And we created a numerous number of projects related to that. I will mention one with the name Ordinary Heroes, where we are featuring stories of moral courage and rescue behavior from people from different ethnic groups. It's an award-winning project by United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, but it's also the best practice of Council of Europe for 56 countries. The trust is the base. I do have trust, and I do believe in new young generations, and we do have some mechanism like Raiko, and we do have great people, but I also do believe that if you don't push, and if you don't ask for change, and if the mobility and just bringing young people together and you talk to each other, yes, those are great steps, but if we don't change the system, if we don't change, for example, these segregated schools in my country, there is no hope for larger change. We have to do a formal education. Non-formal education is not a solution for the region, I think. Okay. So, yeah.
Thank you. So, we've been talking since 9 o'clock this morning. It's been a fascinating journey and informative, but I want to thank all the panelists. So we started off this morning with the political discussion and the anguish of the political leaders of the Western Balkans about the current uncertainty, and reassurances from the European Union representatives that really nothing had really changed. This was just a temporary delay, and there would not be a connection between reform of the enlargement process, accession, and the start of talks, especially with North Macedonia and Albania. A lot of interest in the Croatian presidency because they have promised, and there are great hopes that this will somehow unlock some of this, the impasse that we've reached. We've talked about women's issues, and now, of course, we're talking about reconciliation. I'm not going to try and wrap up what's been there, but I have to say that coming to this conference, now this is about the 5th or 6th one that I've moderated, I have seen a change in the narrative. And I don't know if all of you agree with it, but I think really in today's world, the geopolitical, geoeconomic challenges that we face do require a Europe that is free and united, and really completed in the sense that history demands that it is completed. So I'm going to thank the panelists. Please join me in thanking the panelists. I'm going to thank our young Western Balkan representatives for being here as well. And we're going to end with another video, and this is from a kind of a trailer, a video teaser for Balkan Traffic that many of you know, which is, of course, a European festival that showcases every aspect of contemporary art and culture in the Balkans. So let's get that video going, and thank you again for being here for such a long time. Thank you.
Balkan Traffic est un trafic de culture. Depuis les prémices de la création de ce festival, l'idée est de rassembler les communautés, c'est-à-dire de dépasser les a priori grâce à ce qui nous rassemble tous, c'est la culture, les arts en général. Donc c'est du cinéma, c'est de la danse, c'est de la musique, c'est de la gastronomie, c'est du vin. Balkan Traffic est un festival unique qui réunit tous ces ingrédients au Palais des Beaux-Arts de Bruxelles depuis 12 ans. Pour laisser l'opportunité à toute cette diversité européenne de s'exprimer à travers ce qu'on a tous de plus précieux, c'est-à-dire ces traditions, et même plus, parce que Balkan Traffic, c'est des traditions, mais c'est aussi du jazz, du rock, de l'électronique. Balkan Traffic sort un petit peu des chemins classiques du style festival parce que nous dépassons cette sphère uniquement musicale. L'idée du festival est que, au sein des couloirs du Palais des Beaux-Arts, la rencontre se produise. Et grâce à cette recette de la programmation du festival, on réussit à ramener toute cette diversité au même moment et donc à provoquer la rencontre et l'échange d'expériences. C'est ça qui est important.
Obviously, cultural heritage is not just stones. It's obviously also what lives. It's also life. And in that way, you know, what you're doing today is going to be the heritage of Europe tomorrow.
My language is not known to you, but you will hear it how it sounds now. I'm socially oriented and I fight many wars.
And we were having a discussion of how our vision of the challenges in the Western Balkans, and I was absolutely inspired by the way, how lucid your analysis is, how well you understand the situation, the challenges on the ground.
Ce que j'ai toujours voulu avec le festival, c'est d'ouvrir l'esprit à la différence et à travers les arts. C'est ça le but du festival, il n'y a pas plus, il n'y a pas moins. C'est cette fierté de savoir que chacun s'y retrouve, que chacun est fier de son patrimoine et est prêt à l'offrir, j'ai envie de dire, à son voisin.